Hello, friends. It is, in my opinion, the best week sports, or at least one of them. It's Masters Week. We are just one day away from kicking off the first major of the men's golf season. And of course, we have to have our live preview show. We're back. It's Andrew Hustler Paterson. It's Pat Gregoire. And we've added a new friend to the fold, Jake Bolin Moss. Fellas, I know you guys are fired up. I know we will get into the storylines, but is this, I'll start with you, Huss. Is this the craziest, most open field that we've seen at the Masters in a long time?
I think you can certainly make the argument for it. I mean, year after year, you know that you're getting the best of the best at the Masters. But I mean, honestly, I kind of make many decisions by looking at the odds board, guys. And I can't remember having a favorite as high as 12-1. And when you look at that group, basically between John Rahm at 12 and the guys are in and around 25, I mean, you have a huge group of players that could legitimately win this tournament. An excellent group of debutantes. Tiger Woods, which I know we're going to get to back in the field. And listen, I mean, I think as far as storylines go, the lack of Phil and everything that's happened around that has, really, it has been somewhat of a very quiet week about that. And no one kind of shuts things up better than the Masters. But Tiger sucking all the oxygen out of the room the last few days, I'm sure has been good to get that story out of it. But as far as wide open field, yeah, I mean, it has been very, very difficult. You can't bet on everyone, although some people might try to do it. Listen, it's not easy this year getting everything down to your final picks, but I'll tell you what, it sure has been a heck of a lot of fun going over everything, all the information out there on the internet and trying to whittle it down to the final card.
Of course, we will give out our best bets, but we want to hear from your best bets as well. So the comments are open. Fire out what some of your best bets are for the Masters, and we will get to some conversations as well. And of course, if you're looking for a little extra money to sprinkle down, we're also giving away some free credit. So retweet the stream. It is up on our Twitter feed. Retweet that, and you'll be entered into a contest to win some Coolbet credits. Huss, you already mentioned that name, and it's the absolute lightning rod when it comes to the world of golf and the world of sports even. Tiger Woods, believe it or not, we are led to believe, and he said it, he thinks he is going to be ready to play. So if he's going to play, Jake, I know you're a big Tiger guy. You got to assume that he believes that he can win this thing. And he said he does, but do you believe that he can still win this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine we're going to enter the Masters here and Tiger's just going to play to walk the course and just show people he's all right. He's coming to win. His mentality is that when he enters a tournament, he has a good chance of winning just as much as anyone else. And he's just wired differently than everyone else. I don't know. He's performed so well at Augusta. What he did back in 2019 was incredible. And a lot of talk now is that if he's able to somehow pull this off and do the incredible and win this Masters, I don't know. A lot of people are saying it could be one of the greatest sports achievements there is after what's happened over the last year or so. I hope he's going to be in the mix come Sunday. Like you said, I'm a big Tiger guy. I know you guys are definitely a fan. He's good for the sport. What we saw on Monday and Tuesday in terms of those practice rounds, the pitchers and stuff, it looks like a freaking Sunday there on Monday. So pretty crazy. I hope he's in the mix. I hope at the very least he makes the cut. Someone's already been replying to me saying he's not going to be playing Sunday. I'm not happy about that. I'm taking notes. I'm keeping an eye out for these people that against Tiger. So
yeah, well, listen, those people better be careful because doubting Tiger Woods and going against him has never been either profitable or smart when it comes to takes. And I'll say this, guys, and I mean, one of my favorite bets of the entire week is Tiger to make the cut. And, we talked about this yesterday on the Lock Shop and on Winnipeg Sports Talk. It was even money. Then it was minus 105. It was back to even. And then for most of last night, it was minus 109. I'm seeing right now as we're doing the show, it's back to even money. I don't think it's going to get any better than that. And honestly, I really believe that by the time we got to tee off on Thursday morning, that we'd be talking about more in the lines of a pick 'em, regardless of the number. I don't think there's any way that you can go against Tiger Woods making the cut in this tournament. I mean, there's only 91 people in the event to begin with. And I'm with you, Jake. I mean, like, Tiger Woods is not out just to walk the course. He will not play if he doesn't think he has a chance to win. And part of winning, I think, is knowing that he's good enough to be able to get through those 2 rounds and play on the weekend. So I'm all in, heavy piece on the Tiger to make the cut, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, say what you will, if you are a Tiger fan or you're a Tiger hater, regardless of what it is, what you are, where you stand on it, it is good for golf. And you said that. It is insane. You see the crowds at the practice round, you see the buzz on Twitter. So I think if you're rooting against Tiger to fail, you've got a big dump in your pants. And I honestly want to just, for me, it's the no-brain bet, because like I even want to just sprinkle a little bit on him to win outright, just because why not? I was one of those idiot doubters. I had some bets with my buddy saying that he was never going to win again, and that he was never going to win a major, and he wasn't going to be the same. And then he just shoves it right in my face. So I'm done doubting this man. And the craziest thing, golf, it's such a banana sport. He said the most difficult part that is going to be this weekend is him walking the course.
Yeah.
So he's so confident and comfortable in his swing, in his game, in his confidence, that he thinks that maybe it's the walking of the course that might hurt him. So if he was allowed to ride down in a cart, I think maybe he would be a heavy favorite to win this thing. But that's how nuts this situation is. But it's great for golf. But Huss, you mentioned it. There's a ton of storylines heading into this tournament. Is there any other ones that maybe not necessarily going under the radar with Tiger, but what's the one storyline that you're looking forward to heading into Augusta?
Well, I'll tell you what, no one's talking about him right now, but it's the world #1, Scottie Scheffler, and the season that he's had. Funny story, guys. I was lucky enough to get to the Ryder Cup in September, and I was with my friend. We watched, and I'll be honest, I was skeptical about Scottie Scheffler having not won on tour, being a Ryder Cup rookie. He destroyed everybody he played the entire weekend, including, if I recall correctly, Jon Rahm on the final day. And I remember saying to my friend that I was with, I said, mark my words, I'm betting Scottie Scheffler to win the Dell Match Play no matter what. And listen, I didn't think that he'd already have 2 wins in the month leading up to the event, and would be at the number that he was, but rode him. And listen, here he is, as the #1 player in the world. He's been there twice. He's been top 20 in both of his appearances. So I think people are sleeping on Scottie Scheffler a little bit. And then the other story is Jon Rahm. I mean, Jon Rahm, since he got to world #1, hasn't been winning tournaments, hasn't had a great term, but there's plenty of reasons why he is still the clear-cut favorite for this tournament. So, I look at the top of the leaderboard at some of the names, and the 2 guys that stick out for what I'm really excited to see what they can do, Scottie Scheffler and Jon Rahm. But that 90% of the conversations on Thursday are going to be about Eldrick.
Absolutely. And Jake, I know you obviously at top of your boards, Woods. Is there anything else that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Sheff a little later on too. I have him as one of my picks. That was one I had in mind. This is a one that I'm looking into. Bryson, I don't know. He hasn't played a lot of golf this year. He's saying he's not 100%. I'm not a big Bryson guy. I think that's pretty well known. He's missed a couple cuts already in recent starts. So I don't know. I've got my eyes on him. He's the one who talked all that trash last year about how Augusta's a par 67 in his eyes. He's had 167 in his last 8 starts at Augusta. Or his last 8 rounds at Augusta. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sold on him. I got him actually. I know we'll get to it, but I got him to miss the cut plus 140 later on. So yeah, Bryson's one of the names that I'm keeping my eye on to kind of blow up this weekend.
Well, already we're spoiling picks, and I am 110% on you there. I'm fading Bryson every possible way. So let's get into everyone's big bets, our outrights. But before we do that, let's take a look at the leaderboard right now and some of the outrights. And at the top is that former number one, John Rahm at 12-1, Justin Thomas at 14-1. You've got DJ at 18-1, a former Green Jacket winner, holds the course record for the best weekend. Mind you, that was during the fall, so Augusta wasn't playing like it normally does. Cam Smith at 18-1. Scheffler, we mentioned him, 18-1. Rory McIlroy at 21. Can he finish his career Grand Slam this weekend? And then, of course, we'll wrap things up with a couple of guys that we're big on, Victor Hovland and Brooks Koepka at 22-1. Huss, we'll start with you. Give us a couple of your winners and who you like.
Well, the guys at the top, and just a quick note on that, it has been some interesting. I spent like half my day staring at this odds board yesterday and refreshing it throughout, seeing where the lines were going. Cam Smith and Scotty Scheffler were 17-1 yesterday, and DJ was 19-1. They've now met in the middle, so obviously there's been some action on DJ, justifiably so, and maybe a few people sleeping on Scotty Scheffler and Cam Smith, but I will start with Scotty Scheffler. I think that there is nobody in the game right now that is playing better and more consistent golf at the highest level than Scotty Scheffler. And I understand he's only played there twice. I mentioned that he's been top 20 both times, but hasn't really been in the top 10 or sniffing around the top of the leaderboard on Sunday. But to me, this is, I mean, the difference in Scotty Scheffler from a year ago to today is the biggest change amongst the elite players in all of golf, and he deserves to be one of the favorites. Listen, I think that normally if you had a world number one that had won 3 times in the past 6 weeks or whatever it's been, the guy would be a clear-cut favorite to win the tournament. And, you know, because it's the Masters, because there's a lot of history, because of all the other big names around it, that is not the case. But I am backing Scotty Scheffler in this tournament, and he is going to be one of my 2 picks at the top of the leaderboard. The other guy that I'm picking that I think maybe right now has the best value on the board is Colin Morikawa. And guys, we've seen over and over again, there's a few things that you have to be able to do at Augusta to win. You got to be able to handle pressure. You got to have it, you know, tight between the ears. And I think if there's anything that Colin Morikawa has proven earlier in his career, that he certainly has the mental makeup to win majors. He's done it twice already. And the next step would be winning somewhere like Augusta. And the other thing is his absolutely elite iron play and approach. And that, if there's one stat when you break it out, I mean, the one thing that you have to be able to do is shoot at the pin, to place the ball where you need it on the green, to give yourself a chance to make putts. And that's a common theme with many of the guys that I'm backing. And that's why Colin Morikawa is one of my favorite picks. He was the first bet that I made. I thought that he was way undervalued in and around 22. And now that he's at 25, it was basically hard not to re-up, if you know what I'm saying. So I like Scotty Scheffler, who's now at 18-1, Colin Morikawa at 25-1. Listen, I could give you a good reason why John Rahm can win, Justin Thomas. I mean, all of these players. I mean, it's not like none of them can do it. But, you know, a big part of betting and when we're laying down wagers is trying to identify guys that can win and give ourselves the best value. And one of the, to be perfectly honest, guys, before I even started working with Coolbet, the reason why I started playing at the site was that their golf odds were consistently better. And I've compared it throughout the week with some of the other sites. They're still the most competitive around. And if you can tell me you can find a 25-1 on Colin Morikawa anywhere else, go for it. You won't find it. I'm on him and Scotty Scheffler as my 2 picks in that group of elites. But listen, I wouldn't be surprised if John Rahm comes out and wins, or Justin Thomas. But I think that the value, the opportunity for both of those players led me to make my 2 wagers at the top of the board on Scotty Scheffler and Colin Morikawa.
Oh, Patty, I think you're muted.
I absolutely, sorry about that, fellas. I do love that there. And I won't get into my picks, but I will say I do have Colin Morikawa on my card. So I'm with you there. Jake, I'll let you get into your picks before I throw out any teasers away. Jake, any overlap though? If there is, quickly go over that. If not, go right into it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we didn't really get a chance to chat about who we all had pre-show, but yeah, no overlap for my 2 in kind of that same area Huss was working with. Brooks. I mean, I always got Brooks on my list. One of my favorite guys and one of the best major performers, I'd say, over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, we've seen what he's able to do. 4-time champion, 2-time US, 2-time PGA. He had a miscut last year. I think he was dealing with some injury stuff. I don't think he was 100%. But outside of that, T7, T2, T11 in his last 4 starts of the Masters with that miscut. Just the type of guy that I expect to kind of be up near the top of the leaderboard all weekend. He's 22-1 right now. I think that's solid value. Huss mentioned a lot of those guys up top there. I can't sell myself on a 14-1 Justin Thomas. I'd love to see him win a green jacket. Can't really sell me on that number. DJ 18-1. I mean, we know that run he had that led kind of into that fall Masters where he just killed the field. I don't know. I'm not too sold on him either. Scheffler, obviously, he's a monster. Hard to fade him. I guess you get a little bit of value at 18-1, but still, none of those are really selling me. So I'm going 22-1 on Brooks. And then I got Xander, 25-1. He's won on the big stage, international Olympic champion, gold medalist. In his last 3 starts at Augusta, he was a T2 in 2021, T17 in 2020, and a T3 in 2019. So he's right there. People forget about that 2019 run. He was right there in that Tiger win, but it was obviously overshadowed by the big cat there. So I don't know. I like Xander at 25-1. I think he strikes the ball really well. And I think he's the type of guy who can kind of make a splash here at Augusta like he has in the past. So pardon me. Brooks 22-1 and Xander 25-1 for me on my top of the board outrights there.
Yeah, you know what? I'm obviously all 3 of us big Brooks guy. I just couldn't pull trigger because, Huss, you said it off the top. You can't bet everyone. You can't bet the board. You can't spray the board. Some people might, but I tried to have a little more discipline here. My bet, and this is a number that I kind of was shocked at, but because of how good he's been, and no offense, Jake, but this guy's got the best mullet in sports. It's Cam Smith. I know he's your guy, Huss, as well. But this guy's been lights out to start this season. He already has 2 wins. He has 4 top finishes in his last 8 starts. This guy is just on the brink of really breaking out into a superstar on tour. And when he's hot, there is not too many better golfers on the planet. I just think that this is a signature win that he could add to his resume and really, really start to throw his name into some of the top players in the world. So I've got him at 18-1. I thought it would have been closer to that 2 number, but you know what? When you look at it, how hot he's been this year, I think I had to take it. My next guy, and it is one of my guys. And if you've watched these streams, you know Viktor Hovland is my guy. 22-1. And I know everyone's going to say he has been an absolute nightmare around the greens. His short game is too boom or bust. But Huss, you mentioned it, how important it is for ball striking. And he is an elite ball striker. He is unbelievable when it comes to approach. He is plus 26.4 strokes gained in approach over his last 4 rounds. And only Will Zalatoris has been better. He's long and strong and straight off the tee, which obviously helps at Augusta. And I mentioned about Cam Smith looking for those signature victories. Well, Viktor Hovland, would it not be perfect for him to get a signature victory? He's only 24, but everyone keeps talking about he hasn't picked up that big win yet. He's won on tour. He's won on the European tour, but he's still waiting for that big victory. I think it could come here at Augusta and maybe see him go on a run here. I already mentioned Morikawa. Love him at 25-1. Huss, you broke it down pretty good, so I won't spend too much time. But I think when you look at value, that is my value bet on the board. Getting him at 25-1 because when he's on, he's the best golfer on the planet. We just haven't quite seen the consistency this year. So getting him at 25-1, I'm more or less betting the number there.
Yeah, you know, just quickly on the 2 guys you picked, Cam Smith and Viktor Hovland. I think both of those guys win a green jacket at some point in their career. I would be not shocked at all to see either of those 2, be the guy that gets it on Sunday afternoon. And Cam Smith, the only reason I don't have Cam on this, and maybe this is foolish, he was so lights out at the Players. And what he did on that final round was exactly what we've seen from him almost do at a number of majors, including at the Masters in the past. The one thing that I was a little concerned at, that he played there, and then he was pretty clear that he wasn't playing much going into the tournament. You know, his mother and his sister were there from Australia. He hadn't seen them for 2 years. He was playing some family time. So I'm not too sure what he's been up to and where his preparation has been, and sort of leaned on some other guys. But I'll tell you what, I'm with you. I mean, I would be very, very happy to see Cam get in there. And I'm sure I'll probably play some matchups, maybe a first-round leader on Cam Smith, and we'll see what happens. But don't at all be surprised if he's sniffing around the top of the leaderboard come Sunday. Love that one, Pat.
I knew you'd love it. I know you're a big Cam Smith guy. So those are our picks near the top of the board. Now, everyone loves a little bit of a long shot, a long bomb. And I know we on this show and this podcast, which of course, this is a presentation of the Coolbet Canada podcast. We're just going live here. And if you are listening on the audio podcast, we want to thank you for doing that as well. And if you're watching us live and you don't subscribe to the podcast, make sure you do. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is. Huss, you know all about the promo game. You are
absolutely
the king of streaming.
Hey, so I mean, YouTuber now, swipe up, subscribe. But hey, listen, honestly, Coolbet, you guys have been putting out some great content with all sorts of interesting guests on a weekly basis. There's so much more interest in this market from a lot of people that maybe haven't been betting for a long time. And, you know, and I'll give credit too, just quickly as an aside away from golf, some of the educational things that you've been putting out. I mean, for years, the question that I get most, how do the odds work? What does this mean? And, you know, at the Coolbet site and what you guys have been doing, some great resources for people that are interested in this, but want to learn a little bit more before they go throw $20 on their favorite golfer to win a tournament or win a hockey game.
Appreciate that, Huss. Always love the plug there. So I mentioned it, long shots. Is there anyone that we like as a long shot on the board? Jake, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I got Finau, 60-1. He got the monkey off his back last year, Northern Trust. We saw him win a tournament that wasn't the I think it's that Puerto Rico one that's got the curse, right? So yeah, he got the monkey off his back in the Northern Trust. Solid track record at the Masters. He's got a T5 and 2 T10s at Augusta. So I think there's definitely a guy that can play. If he's playing his best golf, he can definitely win this tournament. He can play with the best of them. I like Finau, 60-1.
I got a couple in there, and I will say, I mean, you know this. I didn't put it on what I sent you, but of course I'm on Finau at 60-1. That was the most auto bet thing I've ever seen. And I had Dubs Anderson on with me yesterday, the day before, who was really watching Finau over the course of the weekend. And because Tony has been pretty average for the standard that he's set so far this year. But you know what? To your point, Jake, I mean, you know, you win that Northern Trust. Now it's about winning the big one, getting a major, and there's no bigger major than a green jacket at Augusta. So obviously I'm on Tony. But there's 3 other bets that I made. One is sort of in the middle, and we already kind of mentioned it. I don't even know if we can call this a long shot, but there's a pretty big gap between those favorites and him, is Will Zalatoris. I got him at 40-1. He's 35 right now, so creeping a little closer. And there's a reason for that. It goes back to what I said about Colin Morikawa. Zalatoris is amongst the greatest ball strikers in the game. And hell, he came there once last year and finished 1 shot off of the lead for second place. So he's a guy. But back up in the Tony Finau range, in addition to Tony, Sungjae Im at 70-1, I think, is incredible value. And that's usually what I'm betting in and around this area. I mean, you got to identify a guy that you can imagine potentially winning. But I think back, Danny Willett, all those years back, we were on them with like 75-1 tickets, 100-1 tickets. Some of the guys at 125-1. This was a guy that was just playing a great style of golf right now and was nailing the irons. And Sungjae Im, when he is on, is absolutely one of those guys. And Zalatoris certainly is. So I got Zalatoris at 40. The 2 longer shots, in addition to Finau, as I mentioned, Sungjae Im at 70-1. And we'll also talk to him about some of the ones, maybe other than winning, but top 5s, top 10s a little bit later on. And I got to tell you guys, I wasn't planning on betting Abe Answer going into this event, but when I saw an 80-1 hung on him, I was in immediately. Here's the thing about Answer. Another guy, very well-rounded game. He's won a WGC event before when he is on, and we saw that in the just a couple weeks ago in the Dell match play. Got to the final 8, played some really, really strong golf, and the iron play was exquisite, and he can putt. So I think his game really suits Augusta. I was stunned that he wasn't more in the sort of Shane Lowry, Oosthuizen area at around 45 or between 40 and 50. So I got on Answer. And I think part of that is he missed last week's event. He was supposed to play in the Valero. And I think it was just frankly how much golf he played at the match play that he decided to take it off. I don't know. He did some promo with the tequila company, and they were showing him doing all this flair bartending, and people speculated maybe he was injured bartending, but I have a feeling that Abe Answer is going to be fine. So those two numbers of that, kind of that long shot range that really stuck out to me of guys that I think could win that are worth, a small sprinkle on. Certainly Tony Finau, that's maybe a little bit bigger of a sprinkle, but Sungjae Im at 70-1 and Abe Answer at 81. And you will not find better numbers anywhere on those guys than you will at Coolbet.
They love but hate how close a lot of the guys that either I did sprinkle or thought about it. Like, we're on the same page here. So that's either really good news or really, really bad news. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But a guy that you didn't mention that I do like, and I think he could possibly be, you already said it, there's a lot of good debutantes. We haven't seen one since 1979. I think we could see one with Sam Burns at 45-1. This guy, you want to talk about when you're hot, you're hot. That's exactly what Sam Burns is. And the thing with him is he is good at a lot, but doesn't really jump off the page with a lot of the analytics. He's a great ball striker. He's great around the greens. He's a great putter. So he's very consistent. And I think his play really does bode well for Augusta. And, at 45-1, I like it. Obviously, we'll get into some of the top 5s, 10s, and 20s, and I'll have a little spoiler. I will be betting on something of that as well. Another one, though, Taylor Gooch. I really, really like Taylor Gooch. At this one, it was plus 150-1. I think this number is a little bit off, just based off, and I know you're a daily fantasy guy, Huss, with DraftKings. If you look at the grouping that he's in for daily fantasy, it doesn't match up at all for where he is in the outright odds. So for me, this seemed like a no-brainer. It's a little bit of a sprinkle. Do I think he's going to win the green jacket? Probably not, but at a little sprinkle, he's another guy that just continues to get better and better. We're seeing him really come into his own. So another guy that if you're not confident enough at that 150, 151, it's a sprinkle anyways. Maybe look to him somewhere in some of those other markets, because I do think there is some value there as well. All right, let's get on to those top 5s, those top 10s, and some top 20s. So Jake, we'll start off with you, and doesn't matter. You can choose where we go with this, but give us some of your other bets that you have here.
I got one top 5, and I think you could go top 10 with this guy too. I can't stand him personally, but he's hard to turn down. Patrick Reed at 12-1, top 5. I believe he's 5.5-1 for a top 10. T8, T10 in his last 2 starts at Augusta. So, he's right there in terms of top 5. He's definitely inside the top 10. Former winner. It's hard to like get away from these former winners. They just always seem to catch my eye when I'm looking at the Masters leaderboard. So, former winner back in 18, and he just kind of guy that always seems to be in the mix at Augusta, especially when he's bending the rules. You know how Reed likes to make his own rules sometimes. So, yeah, I got Reed top 5 at 12-1, and then you can get a top 10 number. I thought was pretty good too, 5.5-1. So. Patty Reed for that one. Do you want me to keep going? I have some top 10s.
Yeah, fire him out.
Rattle him off.
Let him fly.
Yeah. Scotty, top 10, plus 150. I think we've talked enough about Scheffler. I don't think I have to get too deep. 3 wins in his last 5, and then a T7 at the Genesis. This guy's awesome. 6 top 10s this year. He leads the PGA. So, I don't know. Hard not to take plus money at Scotty top 10. And then I have Paul Casey for a top 10, plus 450. Kind of the guy, like always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Can't seem to get over the top and win a major, but He's ended last year's major season pretty strong. T4 at the PGA, T7 at the US, T15 at the Open. He has a T3 at the Players this season already. So I got Paul Casey for a top 10. And then a couple guys that have been in the mix in previous years, guys who have won for top 20s. I got Louis Oosthuizen plus 110 for a top 20. He's always kind of right there. T26, 23, 29, 12, 41, 15, 19, 25. He has a second way back in 2012. I think it was that playoff with Bubba. His last 3 starts at majors, a second at the PGA, a second at the US, and a third at the Open. So, I mean, definitely in the mix at his previous majors. And then I have Bubba, plus 175 for a top 20. 2-time champ. Can't really count out those former winners. Last started Augusta, he was T26, so kind of right there. And then he has a T14 this season at the Phoenix. So, yeah, kind of all over the place. Some of the guys with more experience for those top 20 numbers, and even Paul Casey for the top 10. But I definitely think it's so tough, right? Like, you never really know who's bringing their A game. But I definitely like the guys who have had experience at Augusta, know how to play the course, and have been pretty good experience in majors as well.
Yeah, Pat, as far as for mine, I really focused in on the top 10 number. I've been burned a couple times on the with the top fives where a guy, realizes he's out, or he, goes for a hero shot because he wants to win, and you get a double bogey and all of a sudden you're 8th or whatnot. So I kind of focused in on the top 10s. And I'm going to start it off with Canadian Corey Connors. And a shout out to Winnipeg's Derek Ingram, who was coaching Corey. Got a picture from him yesterday on the range. He's standing there 12 feet away from Tiger Woods as the crowd is all around, and he's working with Corey on the thing. Really cool to see him there. He's actually going to join us on Winnipeg Sports Talk later on today from Augusta, which will be a lot of fun. But hey, Corey Connors, again, like Zalatoris, like Morikawa, some other guys I'm backing, absolutely incredible iron play and approach. And man, he's been sinking some putts lately. I mean, speaking of match play, I mean, he was phenomenal beating DJ in the third 3-4 match coming up. So I think his game's in a great place, and he's been there twice, and he's finished in the top 10 both times. So I love the number at plus 365 for Corey Connors to finish in the top 10. And then I'm going 3 other bets. They're guys that I've mentioned before. I don't think Tiger's going to win this event, but it would kill me if he was in the mix on Sunday and I had only bet him to make the cut. And you'll see that compared to guys that are in that area for wins, the number for Tiger for the top 10 is like double what some of the other guys around him in the odds are. So I love the value on Tiger at plus 550. Fun bet to make and fun guy to cheer for. And then 2 guys that I mentioned already, Sungjae Im and Tony Finau. Love these numbers. I mean, Sungjae's getting 5-1 and Tony Finau's plus 450. I think I'm going to make those 4 wagers. And, if 2 of those guys can come through, you're in a great position. And if you can really nail it, not only you're in the mix for a couple of your outrights, but you got some guys cashing. So I just like those numbers. Tony at 450, Sungjae 5-1, Tiger plus 550. And the one that I locked in first was Corey Connors. Love to see him win the event, but I really do think that his game, his experience, and where he's at right now means that we'll be talking about him on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, with no Taylor Pendrith in the hunt, I'm going to have to bet on one of these Canadians here. I haven't decided yet, so it won't be an official play, but I think I'm leaning something with Corey Connors. But on to mine, and I'll rattle through because these names have already been discussed. So Sam Burns, I've got him in the top 5 at plus 650. The guy is, 11th world ranked right now. And Data Golf has an analytic, a stat that says he is number 9 in the world that has the skill set, the physical skill set to win a major championship. And Augusta, obviously a little bit of a different beast. And I know he's a debutant, hasn't played here before, but I think if there is one golfer that can win in their debut, like we almost saw Will Zalatoris do it last year. He's a special golfer. Well, Sam Burns is a special one as well. I mentioned it. Will Zalatoris. We saw how good he was last year. Elite ball striker. One of the best, if not the best, on planet Earth right now. For him to finish in the top 10, plus 550, that's a no-brainer for me. And then again, Taylor Gooch, I talked about him. If I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on him to win. Why would I not have some insurance and get him in the top 20 at plus 275? So those are my top 10, top 5, top 20. I really like those. And these are the bets, Huss, that once we finish this show, you or Jake will make a point, and I'll end up adding a lot more. So those are my official plays, but you can guarantee that I'm going to have more, and maybe I'll end up tweeting those out as well. But my card's already filling up, so I'm running out of a budget here. I might have to re-up, and can't really say it, but head over to the promotions tab. You might see there a little bit of a gift for you when it comes to the Masters. So can't say anything. Just take a look yourself. But
I went a little crazy at the start, but again, it's nice when you're playing with a little bit of house money. Can I just give, I know we're talking golf, but can I just give a quick shout out to Ricky Wysocki and Chris Dickerson, I have gone back to back on the disc golf tour the last 2 weeks. And let's just say that I got a nice head start on Masters Week, realizing, what the hell is this money in the account for? Oh my God, he won the disc golf. There's nothing better than the Monday surprise for you. So listen, I'm with you on that. I do have a couple other ones from the groups if you want to get to
yeah, let's get to that for sure. I was going to hop into our exotics, but let's go into the groups before we get into the exotics. That's one of our favorites. And again, before we get into that, just want to remind you guys, if you're watching on the stream, go to our Twitter feed, hit that retweet button on that tweet that says retweet to win. You'll get entered into a draw to win $75, and it will be deposited into your account before the tournament starts tomorrow, so you can sprinkle on some winners there. And then as well, you mentioned it, Huss, or check the promotions tab, take a look there. So group winners. So you can go, if you're looking at the odds right now, actually, I will pull them up. There's the group winners. And this is actually one of my favorite things. And I'll be quite honest, Huss, I didn't even take a look at this. So not only are you educating the folks watching here, I'm going to sit back and relax and allow you to take us through, because this is honestly one of the most interesting ways to bet any golf event, but it's also the majors.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what Coolbet's done is taken, 5 players around each other in the group and essentially made a mini 5-person tournament. So, I mean, you've got the big boys at the top, Rahm, JT, Scotty Scheffler, Cam Smith, and Dustin Johnson, going from Rahm at plus 260 to DJ at plus 450. The one bet that I have made, and again, this sort of just follows off what we've been talking about before, is I wanted to get on some Corey Connors. I mean, I wasn't too sure about the outright. I do like him for the top 10, but if I like him for the top 10 and realize what he can do, I kind of like the value at plus 340 in Group C. Now, Matt Fitzpatrick is a very slight favorite at plus 325. Then you've got Neiman, Connors, and Tyrrell Hatton, who I am fading this week, I will say. Maybe that'll be my kiss of death, and he'll win the whole thing. And then Adam Scott at plus 400. So I'm going to take Corey Connors in there. I think that's just a fun way to sort of back Connors, and we can really just focus in on 4 other guys for him to beat. And listen, if he keeps playing the way he has been playing and has played before at Augusta, I think he'll have a really, really good chance to make that happen. And then you get into a bunch of these other groups. By the way, the other group, this is a really interesting one: Hovland, McIlroy, Cantlay, Brooks, and Morikawa. And listen, Brooks and Morikawa, 2 guys that we've tabbed for outrights as well as Vic, are all in that group. So it's difficult, but I mean, you're looking at really close odds between plus 315 to plus 375. I didn't bet that. I'm kind of already somewhat committed to Morikawa in a couple of other areas, but I do like that. I mean, if I think he can win the tournament, and if he was my first pick, he should be there. But again, really, really good competition. And then 2 others that we've got in groupings are of the nationalities. And Pat, you already talked about Cam Smith, as did you, Jake. I mean, I won't spend too much time on him, but the top Aussie at plus 125, I really like that. Usually in golf, I'm trying to get a bigger number. But when you look at the other guys, I mean, really, I think Mark Leishman is the guy that, might press Cam, but as I said, we know where Cam is. And Sung J M, back to another guy that I've mentioned a few times as the top Asian. I know Hideki had his wonderful Masters dinner last night, and Hideki's been the host, dealing with it all. Make no mistake about it. Hideki's win last year, I think, was an incredible inspiration to Sung Jae. He saw what happened in Asia, in his native Japan, when he won the Masters. He wants to be that next guy. I think he's ready for a big, big weekend. And I like Sung Jae at plus 275 as top Asian.
Jake, is there any group bets, any exotic bets that you wanted to get to? I know you said you have some cut bets potentially. I don't know. You did kind of tease that, but is there anything else before we move on to some of the cuts?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to the exotics. Just taking a look at these, I didn't take a long look, like you said. But Group D, I mean, I'm high on Patrick Reed, not by choice, just by kind of experience. 4-1 to win that Group D with Rose, Garcia, Fleetwood, Watson. I don't hate that number. If I think he can be a top 5, top 10, which he's shown to be in the last couple years at Augusta, I think he could definitely take out those guys. Rose kind of scares me a bit, but 4-1, I think, is a solid number there. Nothing else really that catches my eye. Some former winner stuff on there, but you never really know. You don't know what kind of game Dustin's DJ is going to bring. Spieth could be the best player out there, the worst player out there. Like, it's a big toss-up. Actually, the other one I looked at, top Latin American. Haas talked about this guy, Abraham Answer. You're getting plus 125, and really just a head-to-head with Joaquin Niemann. I don't think that's a bad number. You're getting plus money and really just 1v1 type of matchup there with Neiman. So maybe you sprinkle Answer there as top Latin American, but nothing else really outside of that. That really caught my eye.
The one that I really like, and it's not in the tab that you'd look, it's actually in the winners tab, but it is kind of an exotic. I love the winning nationality to be a European. And that's just based off, if you look at my card, I have, Victor Hovland, obviously, but then for me, there's just no value on the US winner, I guess. Yeah. Like if you just even look at the top of the odds, you have like Rahm, he's the leader. And then you go down the board, McIlroy, Hovland. So there is some value there. And that more or less is also just, I'm just looking at that value there. The rest of the world is even interesting. I believe it's at 375. And that would kind of play into my card as well with a guy like Cam Smith. You mentioned Sung Jae Im possibly. But just looking at it, and I think there's a good chance it's going to be an American when you look at all the guys near the top. But that's kind of also how you can hedge your bet if you do have a heavy dose of, let's say, a Scheffler, a Johnson, and some of those names that are near the top. So that's one that I liked. In terms of the groups, again, I haven't really looked at all too many of those. Corey Connors at minus 213, obviously way too juicy. But if you are a Mac Hughes guy, why not take a look at him at plus 230? When he is on, we know he is someone who can definitely sniff around that top 10, that top 20. We haven't really seen that consistency from him so far. So that's it for the exotics. I really want to get into the cuts. I'll start things off this first time. I already teased it, and I am going with Bryson DeChambeau to miss the cut. I am sorry. I know he is a lightning rod, but he isn't a lightning rod where even if he misses the cut, people are still talking about it. He's good for golf, but he's a guy that everyone loves to hate. And I think people could rally around, once again, him falling flat on his face. I think, Jake, you mentioned off the top, we haven't seen much of him this year. We obviously know he's banged up. We know he's been really focused on that long drive challenge that he was doing. It just seems like there's a lot of other distractions around DeChambeau that if this was any other tournament, he probably isn't entering it. But because it's the Masters, he feels that he has to be there. And I believe there's some reports saying he's around 80%. When we saw him at 100%, when he was running his mouth, saying that this course shot like a 67 for him, he couldn't putt. He couldn't, wasn't playing well around the greens. Sure, his ball striking was great. Sure, he could hit it well off the tee. But just the way his game plays and the fact that he is not healthy, I am 110% fading Bryson. And if he's in the hunt and I miss out on this bet, that's fine because that's only going to make Sunday all that more interesting. I just don't think he is ready to go.
Yeah, I'm on it too. Plus 140. Like you said, the reports are 80%. He talked a lot of trash about Augusta in the past couple of years. The way he hits the ball, he thinks it's a par 67. Like I said, 167 his last 8 rounds at Augusta, 2 straight missed cuts. I'm with you there. I think he didn't do too well at the Dell either. I'm out on Bryson. Definitely taking him to miss the cut. Plus 140.
Well, you know what? This might be a good little segue into whatever this parlay we're going to be putting together, boys, because it seems like you guys are in on Bryson at plus 140 to miss the cut. We've got Tiger back to even money to make the cut, and it would be a disservice to sport, to all things that are right, to not be backing Tiger to make the cut on this. So I will put forth Tiger to make the cut. We've got Bryson to miss the cut. Maybe we toss in another guy or two and try and make that our sort of partner parlay that we can get up later on for people to get on.
Yes, I love that. So let's go. Let's lock it in now. We have Woods to make the cut, DeChambeau to miss the cut. Jake, is there anything? I know that's both of our picks. I don't know if you want that. I'm sure I could throw something out. I agree with you, Huss. Maybe let's go 2 more. We'll kind of rack our brains together. And who are the 2 guys? We could even say to miss the cut or to make the cut. I think just if we go with 4 players, I think that's probably going to work best for us.
Well, and the weird thing is with the smaller field, I mean, for most guys, like most players, this is why the Tiger bet just stands out to me. And I guess there might be people that just think, oh, he's not going to be able to do it. I mean, you compare anyone else in Tiger's grouping, like where Tiger is odds wise to make the cut. And we're talking about, you know, minus 500, minus 400. I mean, those sort of things. So, I mean, you know, often I think we're sort of looking down a little bit lower to try to get those numbers up a little bit. You know, some guys like just, I mean, even getting guys to make the cut at under minus 200, you know, you're basically looking at some of the guys like further down the list. I'm a big Kisner guy. I think Kiz has been playing amazing. Kiz is minus 161. Doesn't hit it as long as everybody else, but he certainly has the iron game. 2 guys that I would kind of think that are under minus 200 that I would throw out there, Kevin Kisner and Kevin Na to make the cut. Either one of those guys I'd feel pretty good about if you guys like those 2 to add to it.
I definitely like the Kiz. I'm a little not too sure on Na. I know this might be a little bit too juicy at plus 250, but he's my guy. I like Max Homa at plus 250 to make this cut here. And I think if we do have, you know, Tiger at plus money, and if we go with Kiz at that 1, and then of course our other pick is, you know, DeChambeau to miss the cut. I think maybe that gets to us to a good number. What do you guys think about that?
I got no issue on that. I mean, I think again, I'm just looking at numbers that, you know, will kind of get this to the area that we want, especially for getting boosted. I mean, it'll be something that, you know, we'll be paying attention to a bunch of guys. But Kisner's good. And hey, I'm just a big Max guy. I mean, I don't have a touch on him anywhere else in this tournament. I sort of think that he's maybe perfect for, you know, some of the places on the West Coast. But again, he's still a really, really good player. And more than half this field's going to be playing on the weekend. So, I wouldn't have an issue on that. Jake, anyone else you want to throw out?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like those ones. I was going to say maybe we want to try to get some national pride. Mac Hughes minus 154 to make. I don't think that's a terrible number. Like we said, maybe he's a little inconsistent, but we get a little Canadian juice in there. But I don't mind those. Homa, Kiz, and Tiger to make, Bryson to miss. You're going to get a plus number with Bryson. You get even money with Tiger, and a couple good ones with those other 2. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are. Maybe getting a little Canadian touch in there. I'd go Connors, but he's just minus 333. You're almost getting nothing out of that. So,
well, you know what? I mean, listen, I mean, I would be fine with going Mac Hughes. If we want to keep it to 4, we could do that instead of Max Homa, and that will give us a better number. Or we put 5 guys in there, and Homa's just the guy that we're laying the most juice on.
Let's go with 5. Let's do 5. Let's do 5. We got to have Max Homa in there. Again, I have no bets on him, so maybe this is just me forcing my hand to try to get something here. But, you know, over his last 5 events, he's finished within 5 shots of the leader. And, you know, he has over his last 5, I think it was, he's got a top 10. He's got a couple of, I think he's got 4 top 20 finishes. So, he's always been able to be around in some of these bigger events. It's just he hasn't got it done here at the Masters. So let's go with that.
He's never made the cut. The one thing I will say this, he's never made the cut at the Masters. And, you know, when you're looking at this, like Paul Casey is minus 238 and Home is minus 250. I don't know. Does that make sense? Am I missing something here?
It must just be recent form because Homa has been playing well and Casey's kind of trending in the other direction. But that is crazy, actually, that Casey's only minus 250. That is pretty. Now that's starting to make me wonder what the issue is there. But I'm okay.
We could make it a 6-pack if you want and throw Casey on there as well. I mean, again, we're getting it up there. We're dancing with the devil. It takes one guy to move it. But I will leave that to you. I definitely like the DeChambeau plus 40, Tiger plus 100, Mac Hughes minus 154, Kiz at minus 161, and then we decide if those ones in the minus 200s. Where do you guys want to go?
Yeah, you know what? Let's because we obviously don't have it live now. We'll go to the drawing board, but you know, in a little while, we'll have that out there. So it's going to be either a 5 or a 6-man cut parlay exclusive to Coolbet Canada. And again, we'll make sure that is out live at some point here today, so you can get in on that. So you don't have to wake up super early before the Masters tees off. I can't believe Masters weekend is already upon us. It starts tomorrow. Guys, before we do get going, Huss, you mentioned it. You've got an awesome guest for the Masters this week. Is there any other betting content or Masters content that folks should be looking forward to with Winnipeg Sports Talk?
Well, yeah, I mean, the last couple of days we've been all over it. I mean, Matt Wiley, who does the Golflandia podcast, joined me on yesterday's Winnipeg Sports Talk. On Monday, we had Dubs Anderson, Mr. Dubsy, a charismatic Aussie that's done some caddying on tour and does some content for Sports Grid. He was phenomenal. You can get all of our content at on YouTube at search Winnipeg Sports Talk. Give us a sub if you don't mind, but just check into the programs. It's all listed as to where they're at. And then, today, this afternoon, the coach of Corey Connors, Canadians national team coach, Derek Ingram, who's a great friend of mine here from Winnipeg, working with Corey, getting ready for the event. He's going to go off the grounds into the car in the parking lot so he can use a phone. Very kind of Derek to do that. We know how we know the rules are the rules there at Augusta National. So he'll be joining us. And then the next couple of days, I mean, we'll be spending a lot of time looking at the leaderboard, talking about how things are going. But really, it's Monday to Wednesday that you got to get the content in, because once that ceremonial tee shot is gone, the bets are done. So I think we've done a pretty good job at laying everything out, guys. And let's hope at the end of Sunday, we'll be doing touchdown dances in our respective viewing areas, celebrating another great 4 days at Augusta National.
Yeah, let's hope the group chat is buzzing, because when it is buzzing, that means the bets are going well. If it's silent, if it's a ghost town, that means that it's not so well. But say if, by chance, some of your outrights don't hit, have no fear. Coolbet Canada offering some live betting for the Masters. So we will have live odds for outright winners throughout the entire event. We're going to have some other specials as well. So we will have live betting. So if your picks go up in flames and it's a dumpster fire after the first day, don't worry. There are other opportunities to sprinkle as well.
Hey, just on that, Pat, and for people that maybe are just getting into this and haven't done it before, or just people like me that have a tough time pulling the trigger on a John Rahm at 12 or a Justin Thomas at 14, what Pat just said is very important. After the round on Thursday night, you'll see recalibrated odds. And let's just say John Rahm is 6 shots off the pace. Well, that number is not going to be 12 anymore. It'll probably be more like 35 or 40. So there is some great value mid-round, in between rounds, or live odds for guys that you might think, hey, it's a long tournament. We've all seen what happens to guys that are winning at the start, guys that come back. It's not over if your guy's a few shots back after the first round, but it could be a great betting opportunity. So make sure to check those boards after rounds 1 and round 2 heading into the weekend.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Especially a guy like Rahm or some of those elite talents near the top of the board right now. If they slow, kind of go off slow, That doesn't mean they're out. These are the guys that can just turn it on and get back into contention. So we have our partner parlay for the Coolbet Canada podcast. That will be going up soon. And of course, if you're tuning in live later and you've missed the start of the show, no problem. You can watch this back on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, you can watch it back on Twitter. But if you're on the road or going to the gym, going for a run, you can also pop it in your earphones and take the podcast version as well. That's at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you stream your favorite podcast. So fellas, we're about an hour here. Huss, you mentioned, I think we laid out our bets pretty well. I think we're going to get some individual betting cards up on Twitter as well. So if you missed the show, you can also see what we throw out here today. So Huss, want to thank you so much for joining on. Before we get going, any final words here?
Yeah, well, let's have a great one. And I should have mentioned, you were asking about Winnipeg Sports Talk content. We did do a heavy Masters episode of the Lock Shop yesterday. Of course, great working with Coolbet with Dustin Nielsen. If you are a podcast listener, we crank that out on Tuesdays and Fridays each week. Might be growing it, but for right now, Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays is the day, if you're a golf guy, where we get our golf picks heading into Thursday. So check out the Lock Shop. Hit that up. Give us a subscribe at wherever you get your podcasts. And other than that, I'm sure you guys have really enjoyed the last hour because we just focused in on golf and didn't have to talk about that Leaf game last night.
Oh, 58 minutes. 58 minutes. It took you. I knew that was coming. I just didn't know how long it was.
It's called dropping a bomb on 18, fellas.
I got one more thing here, guys. If you go to the others tab of the Masters, number of players under par, over 18.5. I like it, minus 118. It's cleared 4 straight years since 2018, and I just think there's so much talent in this field. I don't see how there's not 20 guys under par by the end of the weekend. I know they've kind of extended a few holes, done a few things, but as much as I expect Augusta to show its teeth, I also expect guys to be under par. So I'm taking that over. I think over-under is the same odds, minus 118, so I like that. 18.5, over 18.5 players under par by the end of the weekend.
Hey, what about the hole-in-one prop? We getting a hole-in-one, minus 167. It seems there usually is a hole-in-one, and that's probably a fun bet. You certainly know when you've hit it. Otherwise, I've done the no a few times, and you're just waiting. You're just waiting for the highlight to come up on Sunday. It's sort of a sadomasochistic bet to bet the no, but that's another fun. There's some other neat ones too. The lowest tournament round. Jake just mentioned the players under par, winning score as well, cut score made at. So you can check those out at the others as well if you want to, get a little bit of other interesting wagers in outside of just the guys you think that are going to win.
And there's that requested odds tab as well with some interesting one player to hit a hole in one. You can get specific. And of course, if you have something that you want to propose for Coolbet as well, hit up the customer service chat. And usually we're able to, put something together for you as well. But that's also where our boosted odds parlay will be in just a few hours. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in to our Masters preview show on the Coolbet Canada podcast. We want to thank everyone again for subscribing. Of course, remember, you'll have a little time here to continue to smash that retweet button, share it on your timeline so you can be entered to win some Coolbet cash. For everyone here at Coolbet Canada, he's Jake Bolin Moss. He's Andrew Paterson. I'm Pat Gregoire. Thanks as always for tuning in. Thanks for being a cool better. And as always, stay cool.